The fact is that when the Senate sits in impeachment trial, it does so after taking an oath. The oath is sacred. It's important. The Constitution specifically requires a separate oath
but aren't
for every
you flouting
senator.
that oath if you're even before you take the oath?
Well, that's my point. That the oath swears every senator to try to do impartial justice, and I think part of that is not announcing a conclusion, even though you have a strong inclination before the trial actually begins.
I mean, I doubt he would ever recuse himself. Should he be recused by somebody else?
No, that's never going to happen.
Never going to happen?
No.
But can you have a fair trial when the leader of the trial has come out and said, don't worry, he's going to get acquitted?
Well, it's up to everybody else. I mean, you got 99 other senators. You'll have the Chief Justice there presiding. I found in 1999 that when Chief Justice Rehnquist came in and sat in that chair where we normally have the vice president or another senator, it said to each of us, not only had we taken a separate oath to do impartial justice, but this was different. This was not just the Senate considering an amendment. We were a court now, and we had to do it fairly. Why? For the country, for the American people.
Things were partisan back then, no doubt about it.
Very partisan.
Do you feel they're more partisan right now?
They are more partisan right now. I will tell you part of why I think the Senate trial worked in a fair way, though the outcome was exactly what people would have predicted, is that the bipartisan leadership of the Senate, Trent Lott, Republican Majority Leader, Tom Daschle, Democratic Minority
They worked together.
Leader. They worked together, and I know because I talked to Trent Lott, who was my dear friend and remains so, that he was upset at how partisan the House Republicans seemed in voting for articles of impeachment against President Clinton, and he wanted the Senate to do it in a different way, even though he had a pretty good idea of how it was going to end.
Do you see that happening in this Senate?
Not right now, but I really hope that Senator McConnell, Senator Schumer will rise to the occasion and realize that there's something important they're doing now. Articles of impeachment have been voted, whether they think that was outrageous or not enough. The senators have an obligation, a responsibility, really, to do what is called for in the Constitution.
Would you?
Hello, YouTubers. If you're watching this, it means you've checked out our channel, so thank you. Now do me a favor, subscribe by clicking on that button down there. Click on any of the videos to watch the latest interviews and highlights from MTP Daily and MSNBC. You can get more Beat the Press content every morning in the First Read newsletter. If you're tired of content that you don't know anything about where it came from, you don't have to have that problem with us. NBC News, MSNBC, MTP, and the Meet the Press mindset right here for you on YouTube. Subscribe now.